as a knife. We're rocking out and heading up the scene. Sports fanatic dreams extreme. From the Eagles' pride to Philly's dream. Stay tuned and your screen turns green. Pattison Ave Phanatics take for brains. With fire written on veins, we spark the flames. Taking up high, no holding back. We're picking them all. Stay on track.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show. I'm your host, Tom Kelly. With me, as always, Alan Anticavage.
Welcome. Here we are. Let's go.
Mike Fuji in the building. What's that, Is that JFK Stadium? What is that, Fuji?
JFK.
It's JFK behind you?
Beautiful.
Same exact lot where Lincoln Financial Field is. The schedule's kicking out. Big D coming September 4th for that banner to drop. What's going on, fellas? Let's get this party rocking. Luther Broughton in the house, ex-Eagle tight end, 2-time with the Birds. What's going on?
Not much, brother. Not much. So go ahead, Alan.
Can we stay on that topic that Fuji just brought up? Yeah.
All right. We'll start with that.
Okay? That Big D is coming to Philly to watch us unveil our Super Bowl banner.
So not only do the football gods smile upon your Philadelphia Eagles with a wonderful Super Bowl victory, but then they lean around on the backside and give you a little push slap and say, and we got something a little special for you. Guess how you're going to start the season next year? The Dallas Cowboys on a Thursday night in September come into South Philadelphia to watch the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles team raise the Super Bowl banner in the rafters. It gets no better than that.
None whatsoever, dude. None whatsoever.
When that got released, I couldn't stop laughing, and I sit there and I think, and we have some really good Cowboys fans out there. As much as you can be a good individual being a Cowboys fan from anywhere other than Dallas, Texas. And Cowboy Dave and Vaughn Vassay and my buddy Sean Tolomeo, and there's a lot of decent human beings that are Cowboys fans out there. And unfortunately, you're not going to like this show because this is getting ramrodded hardcore. I cannot wait.
Already.
Mr. Broughton just got into the virtual green room there. We'll bring him in a minute. But yeah, so Thursday, September 4th, I do believe that the Dallas Cowboys will be demoralized after watching the Eagles raise that banner. But without further ado, our guest jumping on with us tonight is a two-time Philadelphia Eagle. He also had stints with the Carolina Panthers, the Chicago Bears, and the Green Bay Packers. Mr. Luther Broughton is joining us. Luther, thank you so much for jumping on with us, my man.
Hey, what's happening, man? What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
Not much,
man. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Not much. I'm liking that eagle in the background.
Oh, of course, man. What you expect?
Yes, sir. So let's. I watch some. Obviously when we have special guests on, I do a little research and just try and familiarize myself with your career and some of the things that you did. Now it looks here like in 1997 you were a 5th round draft pick. You were pick 155. Now how did that play out? Did you start the season with the Eagles and get traded to Carolina, or how did that work?
Well, I got drafted by the Eagles, and I spent. I made the 53. Spent, I think it was week 12 or 13. We played. It's a double-digit week. We played the Niners at San Francisco, and we got like 3 offensive linemen hurt that game. And I made the team as a 4th tight end. Okay. So I know, you know how it is. You got to create a roster spot. That 4th tight end is probably the first guy out. Mm-hmm. And I but the crazy thing about it is that I didn't travel with the team because I knew I wasn't going to play. And Ray Rose, he was teasing me. He was like, "Man, I know you don't have any." He was funny like that. He had a good time. He said, "I know you don't have any girls around here." He said, "Look, you're not traveling with us to San Francisco. You know, you're not going to be on the active roster. Why don't you go back to Furman?" That's where I went to college. He said, "Why don't you go back to Furman and hook up with one of your college girls or something?" Like, he's clowning me, and I'm laughing. I'm like, actually, that's a good idea. I went to Furman to visit my old coaches, and I went to practice. And crazy thing that happened at that practice, Chris Polian, who's Bill Polian's son, was there scouting. And he did like a double take, and he said, "Luther?" He said, "What are you doing here?" I've been watching the waiver wire all year, wanting you to get cut. He said, "We were going to take you in the 5th round if the Eagles didn't take you." And he said, "Man, you're not." I said, I didn't get cut. I just didn't travel." And he said, "Oh man," he was like, I knew I didn't miss something." Well, on the way back home from that practice, going to the airport, not on the way back home, on the way back home to Philly, I was headed to the airport. I got a call from the Eagles office. I knew the 215 and the first three codes. The first 3 after the 215 was the office. And I'm like, "Who's calling me?" And I was like, "Ooh." And I knew we had injuries, and I knew I would be one of the first people, they think about releasing. And it was Juan Castillo. Juan was the tight ends coach, and Juan said, "Lou," he called me Lou Man. "Lou Man, where are you?" And I said, I'm in Greenville, just leaving Furman, headed to the airport, headed back to Philly." He said, "Look, man, when you get in town, come straight to the office." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Lou, we're not supposed to disseminate the information. They let the GM and the head guy get to you first." And I said, "Juan, it's me and you, man. What's up?" He said, "Look, we had I forgot the names. He mentioned the names. He said, those guys got hurt. We need to pick up a guard." And I said, "Juan, I get it, man. I'm not naive." He's like, "Well, we're going to release you and hope you clear waivers, because if you clear waivers, we'll sign you back." This is Sunday night. They were going to release me Sunday, and I had to wait 24 hours. They said, as soon as that 24-hour hit, we'll sign you back on the practice squad. Nothing changes for you. Nothing changed because I did everything the same. The only thing that changed was my money.
Right.
You get practice squad money. Well, I get there. I go to the office. They let me know they're going to release me, but don't leave town. Some guys get cut. They think it's over. They said, "Don't leave town. If you clear waivers, we'll immediately sign you back." Right? Don't do anything. So it happened. I cleared waivers. They signed me back. But the Panthers called my agent as soon as I got cut.
There we go.
And he said, "Man, I just saw Luther at Furman." He said, "Look, we don't have a roster spot. We're going to create a spot in the next 10 to 14 days. If they don't put him back on the roster, we're stealing him." And that's how I ended up in Carolina. I spent a year in Carolina, and I went to Carolina, spent a couple games. Then I spent the next year in Carolina with Dom Capers. That year, Dom Capers got fired. They hired Seifert. And Ray Rosa also got fired, and they hired Andy. They ended up trading me back to Philly. After Andy got the job, I got traded back to Philly. That's how that happened. Then when I was a free agent, I went back to Carolina, which was crazy. Well, I'm from the Carolinas, so that was kind of home team. But another little funny situation that went with that was I only had 2 teams interested in me during free agency, right? One was the Panthers, and then they offered. They actually offered. And the other was the Patriots. And I was smallish tight end, but versatile. I played tight end, back and spread sometimes, fullback in a pinch, and the receivers in some spread sets, And Bill Belichick liked versatile guys. So he was talking to my agent. He was like, they were talking to my agent saying, we're thinking about him, whatever. But I couldn't wait. I'm not some star with multiple offers. I got an offer and I took it.
Right.
Fellas, guess what happened that next year?
Patriots win the Super Bowl.
The Patriots won the first of their Super Bowls, and guess what the Panthers' record was?
2-14.
1-15. We won the
Ooh,
first
15.
game of the season, and we lost 15 straight.
I remember that.
games.
Man,
I remember
So
that.
man, it's just the luck, man. But Charles Johnson, rest his soul, Charles signed with the Patriots that year off of the Eagles and won the doggone Super Bowl, man. So
And some of those tight ends in Philly that were ahead of you, Jimmy Johnson and a young Chad Lewis, if I remember correctly. Now I'm going off my memory
yep.
from back
So
then.
Chad and I came in the same draft. Chad was
Okay.
undrafted, and we were both 97 guys, and we both made the team. So that was something that was like a little unique, like late tight ends, late round tight end guys. We were kids. And we both made the team. You know, that's not going to happen. But what I did was my job was to make it difficult for them to release me. I was a small school guy. There's some things I needed to work on, but what I could do is freaking run and catch the ball.
there you go.
And they were like, if we cut this guy, somebody's going to pick him up. So
Right.
they kind of stashed me. They couldn't stash me on the practice squad. And it proved to be right because as soon as they stashed me on the practice squad, the Panthers poached me. But everything happens for a reason, man.
Nope.
For me, it's like no regrets. I'm a bird through and through. I
love
love the
it.
Panthers too because I'm a Carolina kid. This
Mm-hmm.
is obviously we got a team when I was in college. You know, they were playing their first home games at Clemson, which was right down the street from Furman. So those were, that was my, that was one of my teams I liked. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Late in my young years, like when I was 20-ish, 21, because they were our home team. But I grew up a Raider fan. I was a Raiders fan until the Eagles drafted me.
There you go.
I got
Well,
rid of all my.
I got a
So
question.
you're go ahead, Alan. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Luther, if you don't mind, I got a question.
Mhm.
So I didn't have much time. I'm a UPS guy, a driver. I running around like a madman the whole time. But I did a little research. You caught passes from Doug Peterson
Mhm.
and Donovan McNabb in the same year.
In the same
Can I-
year.
Can I ask you, who did you prefer catching the ball from?
I didn't have a preference, bro. I didn't
Okay.
have a lot of
I
didn't
think
have
you
a
had
lot
like
of
15.
targets.
I think you had like 15 catches and like 4 touchdowns that year.
I tell you what, I might not have had a favorite. However, I was the answer to a trivia question on the NFL morning show.
Okay.
And I had no idea. I didn't even know the answer.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Who caught the most touchdowns from Doug Peterson in his career?
Wow.
It was me.
Really?
And I'm sitting there, I'm working, right? And my phone is blowing up. I'm like, why am I getting like 6, 7 texts?
That's
messages in a
awesome.
row?
That is so awesome.
I thought someone from my hometown must have had a bad accident or passed away. I'm like, whoa, this is too many text messages in a row. And I finally looked and I was like, oh, these aren't people from home. These are like random people or guys I know. And they're like, turn. And someone recorded it and sent it to me.
Okay.
And
There you
before I knew before they told me, I watched it and I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh my God, it's me. It was like 3 touchdowns.
You're the original Philly special.
'Cause
That's incredible.
Doug didn't throw a whole lot of touchdowns. He
No, he
was a
didn't.
backup for for most of his career.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was that trivia question, and it was kind of cool. So
That's awesome.
I didn't have
awesome.
a favorite, but I mean, I caught the most TDs from Dougie P.
There you go. I guess go with Dougie P then, maybe.
They brought him in because he was more cerebral and the kind of he was the bridge, is a stopgap for Donovan to
Oh, of course. And he
there.
was an Andy guy. He came from Kansas City. He ran the offense. That was the smart thing to do. You see how some of these quarterbacks are. They throw them in the fire because they're super talented and they're not ready per se.
right.
And Andy worked Donovan. Look, Andy has Patrick Mahomes. Patrick didn't play his rookie year. Same thing. You don't have to throw a guy in there just because you know he's going to be that guy. Sometimes you got to let someone Like the fire's hot. Let's touch it a little bit. Touch it a
Yeah.
little bit. Get used to that fire.
Yeah, we could
And,
even segue into
that's
that
what
with
they
like
did.
Kellen Moore, his situation out there in what is it, Las Vegas, right? Derek Carr retired.
New Orleans. New
Kellen,
Orleans.
Kellen Moore went to the Saints. Yeah.
Saints. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, Derek Carr retired. Now that young rookie. I mean, he's
that
gonna have to
old
get.
rookie.
He's gonna have to get tossed. Yeah, the old rookie.
He's
Yeah,
like
but
25. What's crazy about that is they drafted my cousin in the 3rd round. And
Really?
So, listen, we hate the Saints, and
Right.
I played for the Panthers. That was a
Yep.
division game, so
Yes,
I
sir.
hated them then.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I really have to root for the Saints now? Sometimes, like,
That's
yeah.
got to be crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Vernon Broughton Jr. That's my
I'm
second
gonna
cousin.
I'm gonna be on the lookout for him. And I sent your friends request on Facebook. I'll be torturing you on Messenger like I'm watching your cousin.
Right.
So and we were just before you got on here. We were talking about the Eagles raising the Super Bowl banner in front of the Dallas Cowboys. So now you've played. Now it says I saw that you played in Chicago and in Green. Did you play in Green Bay as well?
So I played. I got 5 years in 97 Eagles, 98 Panthers, 99 2000 Eagles, 2001 Panthers. 2002 I signed with the Bears and I got cut in the last cuts. Then 2003 I was out of football and the Packers called me, and I went there and I had a cup of coffee and got cut in that last cut there as well. So I don't count those years. I mean,
Gotcha.
the experience matters, but I don't count them, nor does the NFL count them in terms of career
Right.
experience.
Right.
So I've got 5 years in, but I
So-
still got some gear, a little bit of Packers gear and some cleats from Chicago and all that. But they're like off someplace. Like the only time I pulled Green Bay shorts, I still have my practice shorts. They were playing the Cowboys in the playoffs. What, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I pulled out the one picture I have at practice in Green Bay, and I posted it as my profile on Facebook for a day. So a little bit of trolling, a little bit of
There
trolling.
you go. There you go. We love that. We love that.
So you didn't have the chance to play at Lincoln Financial Field. You played
I
at
didn't play
Veterans
at the
Stadium.
Link. I played at the Dirty Vet. Baby.
Yeah. Now you're
the concrete.
talking. You're talking to a few old school guys here. Some of us had season tickets back in those vet days where people were sneaking kegs under wheelchairs and bottles of vodka wrapped up as sandwiches.
Listen.
Yep.
I went to a small
Experienced it
college,
all.
right? I went to Furman, small school, all that, right? So I didn't play a whole lot of people. Our facilities weren't the greatest, but we it was fine.
Mhm.
So I get drafted and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Philly. I'm going to the NFL. It doesn't matter. I'm going to the NFL. The facilities are going to be top notch. Boom, boom, boom. I get there and we're showering and the shower's clogged on the right side and it's building up over there. And I'm like, yo, this is disgusting.
Right.
And I called my buddies back in college. I'm like, yo, the Eagles, they got kind of a shitty stadium and it was amazing. And then
They used to have a dude who lived in it. Apparently.
Apparently, right. But it became our secret weapon. No one wanted to play there. That turf was like this thick. It was like a car accident every week. I was a backup. I didn't play a lot. The guys that played a lot, I'm like, dude, how do you guys manage this turf playing 70 plays? Like Deuce, I would be like, Deuce, you gotta be dead. Because Deuce would do nothing on like Monday. I'd be like, Deuce, what are you doing? He's like, dude, my feet are up. My feet are up, bro. You want to come through? I'm
Trying
just
to get the
chilling.
swelling
Come
down?
through. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
Found it. And in 1970, Luther, when they opened that stadium, it was state of the art for the time.
yeah, in 1970. We
Yes.
still had that damn thing in what 2000 and
In
something.
2000, 30 years later.
Oh
Yep.
my god.
2002 was the last game. Oh, I don't want to get into that.
I was
Yeah,
at that game.
let's not get into that final game.
If I seen Rondé Barber on the street, I'd tackle him because
Oh,
in my
God.
nightmares, he's still running down the sidelines with that interception.
I would definitely clothesline the hell out of him. Yes.
I was at that game.
I can't
Yes, you and I
stand
both.
That guy. So that was the championship game, right?
Yes.
NFC Championship game against the Buccaneers. Yeah.
I was living up there, and I was like, I was gonna go to the game because I'm like, we're going to the Super Bowl, right?
Mhm.
Wait, I don't think I was still living. Yeah, I was still living up there. That was like my last year or so, and I decided not to go, which was
And it-
probably the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Because even me watching us on the tube, I lose my mind. You know what I'm saying? We all know that. Like,
Yeah.
so it was like, oh, man.
When I,
Like people this year were like, "Oh man, I know you're having a huge Super Bowl party. Your Eagles are." I'm like, I'm not. I don't want people over. during
Yes.
the-
Oh my
it's-
God.
it's
Yes.
too much
Oh, dude.
stress. I don't want you talking about the commercial. I don't want you to rewind the commercial or halftime or nothing. Like, I'm focused on the game. I was still
Yep.
stressed out being up by multiple scores. Like, no, I'm
Thank
not.
you.
Someone
wasn't
else
the
is
only one.
playing. I'll have a massive party because I don't care. Right?
exactly right.
But the
Yep.
bird, like, I'm diehard. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm not. I can't. I know other people are different. Everyone's different. I can't. I turned down every invite. No, you shouldn't come over and watch it because me, my wife, and son are down here in the basement where I am now,
Right.
and we're watching the birds, bro.
Yep.
And,
I love it.
like,
I love it.
we're all in this house, man.
So
So
yeah.
when you lived up here, where were you staying at? Like what area?
I stay. So my uncle lived in Mount Laurel. He lives in Philly now.
Okay.
He's a developer. He built on frickin' Spring Garden, which is great. I could walk. I always walk. Always, I say always. I walk home from the Super Bowl parade when
Wow.
I visit. But I lived in Mount Laurel.
Okay.
When I got traded back up there right before the season started, he had a big old crib, so I lived in his basement that season. He was like, "Just stay here. You don't have to get an apartment for 17 weeks." So I lived there, and then I moved to a place in Mount Laurel, and then what's that small mall?
Franklin Mills,
No.
or over in Jersey,
Over in Jersey.
the Deptford Mall.
Deptford Mall. I live like 5 minutes away from Deptford Mall.
Oh, okay.
In apartments over there at another time as well.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Now I got a question for you. There's highs and lows that come with playing sports. I mean, some of us will never experience it on the level that you did. I'm sure you've had some highs in your career. What went through your head when the Eagles and Panthers played in the NFC Championship game? Because that's your two squads.
Bro, so that was kind of miserable for me because I had got that was my first year out of football, and Donovan called me on Sunday. I was not going to the game because I'm like, look, the guys that are starting at tight end, I played ahead of at some point in my career on both teams, right?
Wow.
Chris Mangum and Chad. At some point, I played ahead of both of those guys. Like, so I wasn't jealous at all. It was just like I'm literally less than a year removed. This is hard for me. I was happy for them, but it was hard for me. You know, Chad, I still talk to Chad. As a matter of fact, I talked to Chris via text earlier this season because Furman played Ole Miss in football and they beat the living crap out of us. But Donovan calls and he's like, "Lou, I got 2 extras. You want to go to the game?" And he's got like 50-yard line seats, right? So I was seeing this girl at the time and she didn't care. She was like, she was real cool. She was like, "Yeah, let's go." So we parked and everything. I'm walking up to the stadium and she could see on my face that I wasn't excited. The Eagles are in the championship game.
Yeah.
I was not. It wasn't I don't care who win. I'm not like that with the Eagles and the Panthers. The Eagles are 1A and the Panthers are 1B. It's for me. It's a clear distinction. The Eagles are my team. I'll root for the Panthers versus the Eagles if we stink and it helps our playoff. I mean, if it helps our draft positioning. So I'm walking up and she's like, "You don't want to go, do you?" And I was like, I don't. I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this. I just don't. It's awkward.
Yeah.
So I'm like turning around. I go get my tickets from Will Call. I turn around, and you know how it is at the championship game. People are trying to get tickets, and these guys are like, "Yo, you get rid of your tickets." And I was like,
Did
"Yeah,
you sell Donovan McNabb's 2 tickets?
dude, I was going to give it away
Right. Oh, wow.
because I didn't want to go. I didn't want to
Right.
waste them." And
Absolutely.
it was like too late to call my cousin because it was literally game time. And this guy was like, "Oh, here's it was like 200, 300. This guy was like 600." And I really didn't care. And the closest guy to me handed me a wad of cash, and I gave him the 2 tickets.
Wow.
And it ended up being $600. This other guy cussed me out. He was like, "I got fucking 2,500 in my hand," and I was like, "Dude, I wasn't trying to make a profit.
Right.
I didn't want to go."
Yeah.
And
I
I
don't
felt
blame you.
bad because Donovan called me and gave me tickets, and I was excited. And I got there, and I was like, "Man, I don't want to go."
Yeah.
And then we lost. The way we lost, and it was kind of, remember, it was raining. It was kind of
was
drizzling
cold.
a little bit
Yep.
after. It's cold. The cold didn't matter, but the rain sucked, and it was perfect. It was perfect weather for a loss. It was dreary, nasty, rainy, and it sucked.
Yes,
just
it did.
like the outcome of the game.
Yep.
And then we go, and I say the Panthers go to the Super Bowl and lose to the Patriots, and the
Yep.
Eagles lost to the Patriots the year before, and
Yep.
that was when they were cheating. Dude, I remember talking to Musin Muhammad,
Yep.
and I was talking to Moose about the Super Bowl, and Moose said, "Bro, I have never played against a team more prepared in my life. It's like they knew our plays."
Wow.
That's what he said. This is before all the investigations and all
And
that.
he's not the only one who's echoed that same sentiment.
Dude, and he wasn't saying they cheated. He was giving them props at the time. He was like, "Man, they were so prepared. It's like they knew our plays. Some of our audibles, they were all over it." And then 4 years later, or whatever it was, all that stuff came
Spygate.
out. Like that, dude. That sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's awful. That's some crap right there.
Just shows you
I
how
agree.
long Belichick and the Patriots were cheating for. I don't want to put that on Brady because Brady still had to go out and play the game.
Oh yeah,
like
what
you know,
when you have a guy, the thing about them is they really won a lot of those games with defense, and when you have the most clutch quarterback ever on your side, your defense holds them to a low amount. He's going to make it happen in the fourth quarter, and he did that time and time and time and time again, over and over and over.
He literally made his name off.
You expected him to make the game-winning drive. That's why I was terrified when we beat them in the Super Bowl, bro. I thought Gronk caught that Hail Mary. Did any of you think Gronk?
No.
I thought Gronk caught.
Even Merrill paused.
Bro, I did not see the ball hit the ground.
Yeah,
Dude, I was like, "Oh, can I celebrate?"
And
then I saw.
Dude, it took 10 minutes for that ball to hit the ground. I know there was 3
DB
seconds left. It took 10 minutes.
He came from the Saints, and he had to pick 6 in the championship game. Against
Patrick
Minnesota.
Robinson?
I saw Patrick Robinson take off running. I'm almost certain it was him, and that's when I finally was like, "Oh, I can celebrate." I went nuts.
Yeah.
I went outside. I was running, and I'm screaming. I'm like, all my neighbors are like, "That's probably an Eagles fan."
I remember crying and calling my dad was the first person I talked to. My producer, my producer just slid something across my desk. Let's pull it up.
2nd and 10. Burline back. Burline throws. Luther Broughton makes the pitch. Broughton into the end zone. 68 yards. What a great
Steve Bergeron.
Oh my
I
God, that
I
terrible
like
day.
celebration. Yeah, that was great.
I love it.
Hey,
I love it, man.
listen,
Shimmy
man, they
shake
need-
it. I love it.
I don't even listen. I didn't know what I wanted to do, what I was gonna do, how it looked. Nothing, bro. That was my first touchdown ever.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That was my first touchdown ever. So, and I spent the previous year riding the Eagles bench. So I hadn't scored a touchdown in a long time, and I didn't know what to do. That feeling, that was the highest I'd ever been in my life, bro.
I can't even imagine what it's like to score a touchdown in an NFL game. Especially a 68-yarder at that.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's not like a little
That
slant
is-
route across the middle.
You were untouched as well, weren't you?
He got me when I stiff armed him. And you know what's crazy about that? That is another record I had. And when it was being broken, I was cheering for the guy to score. We were Greg Olson broke my record for the longest touchdown by a tight end in Panthers history. It was
Wow.
like a 71 or 74-yard TD. And he's running, and I'm like, yes, go. I'm
That's
watching the
awesome.
game. And my buddy texted me, and he was like, well, your one low record is no longer there. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, are you not watching the game? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, dude, Greg Olson is a tight end. And I was like, oh, no. No. And I'm like, man, I can't have anything good, man.
I get that. So coming from the Carolina area and coming from a small college, and then coming into this town with this fan base, what was it like? And that I'm sorry, and I know I have Eagles fan brethren who will agree with me. Walking into the link is nothing, I'm sure, for an opposing team, and even some Eagles players, like walking into Veteran Stadium. What was that like the first time you saw the fans at a home game?
Dude, it was, mind you, I went to Furman. We put up Division I AA, which is what, FCS subdivision now.
Mm-hmm.
Small school crowd, we get 4,000 people in there. I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? And then you walk into a preseason game in Philly. For me, it was just a preseason game. And I'm like, yo, is this how it is every week? And one of the veterans was like, this is nothing. This is nothing. This is the first preseason game. The fans are excited because they haven't seen football in a while. You wait till week 1 if you make it here. You wait until week 1. And week 1, you get in that stadium, or whatever week it was, you get in the stadium, and it's Philly, bro. It's just, and we weren't that good. And you guys will tell us we aren't that good, but they will do it really, 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 really loudly.
Yes. Yes,
So,
we would.
Yeah.
Yes,
it was amazing, the differences, man.
And so you probably got a small taste of that up in Bethlehem, PA at Lehigh University when you guys were at training camp. Because I remember being out there, and there'd be 6, 7, 8,000 of us lining those fields. One road in and one road out to get to those training camps.
Lined up, and that for me, I'm glad you brought that up. That was the first thing for me. The first thing was training camp, and I we didn't have a cell phone. That was 97. Cell phone. I might have had a pager, and I would call every now and then. I would when I reached out to my guys at school. You call the dorm room or the apartment. After a few weeks, and it's like, dude, training camp, practices. And they're like, is it hard? How's Dawkins? And how about this person or that person? And I would be like, dude, no, not the practice, bro. The fans at the game, at practice. There are more fans here at freaking training camp practice than we have at some of Furman's games.
Right.
Crazy.
It's crazy, bro.
I remember. I grew up in South Philly. I could from my house, if you guys scored a touchdown, I would hear the crowd at the stadium before the TV, because TV's on a delay. I would take the hour and 40-minute ride up with one of my neighbors across the street to watch you guys in training camp. Those hot summer days, those 2 days, those 3
dude, sometimes 3 days.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you right now.
They can't even do that no more.
You guys wouldn't even be talking to me right now about being a former Eagle if we had it like that. You know how I made the team? I made the team in practice.
Yeah.
We had enough reps to be able to be evaluated. I played like 15 preseason plays on offense. You know, guys don't make the team when they don't freaking play.
Mhm.
You know that.
Mhm.
But you know they didn't. I think they didn't. They were trying to stash me as well. What I was hearing, because I was discouraged, and you know I forgot who it was. They were like, "Look, you're gonna be fine. You know we're trying to kind of stash you, right?" I forgot who it was, but I had enough reps, dude. We would have 3-a-days. We would have sometimes 2 in pads and then the 1 in shorts. And bro, I you see my skin tone, bro. I look like Seal, cause it was so hot and sunny out there.
I wish I could pull up "Kiss from a Rose" right now to play in the background while you're telling the story.
During training camp, I look like freaking Seal, bro.
Oh, that's so good.
Okay,
Oh,
so
man.
I'm a Braves fan, and Raisel Iglesias just blew another freaking save. You guys probably laughing at me right now.
Hey, I'm a Phil's fan, so
I'm a Braves fan. We go into the 9th inning, 3-1, and he gives up 2 straight hits, and then we just had an error. Our shortstop threw it away, and they scored 2 runs. He double clutched and threw it away. He blew a save. He blew it last night as well. I'm so sick of him.
That's all right. We'll keep you guys under us in the standings for another night.
But
Fooch, did you have something for Luther, Fooch? I felt like I was jumping in front of you there.
No, I was, I want to, just. I know I asked you this before, Luther, but Tom and Alan weren't aware of this question. But when Andy was the coach, a lot of people may remember this. The young bucks may not, but when Andy made George Hagman ride the,
I wasn't there.
Oh,
Remember that I came in. Well, you guys don't remember. I got traded back there right around cut day. So the Panthers were probably going to cut me, so they ended up trading me to Philly. I wasn't there. I heard about the story, the Hageman story. So that one is a classic, and not in a good way for George. Yeah.
So when you came on to the Eagles, John Gruden was the OC.
John was the OC. So let me go back to that story about going to Furman, getting cut, coming back to Philly, right? So 3 weeks later, the Panthers called. We created a roster spot. We're going to sign you. We're also going to give you a signing bonus to recoup some of the money you lost being on the practice squad. And I'm happy. I'm going home.
Mhm.
But and usually when that happens, you just leave because technically you're a free agent. You leave. We got out of it.
You're good. I respect it. Sports fan.
No, the kid caught it in the stand. We didn't get out of it. We're about to lose. So I call Juan because I have a really good relationship with Juan. I'm like, Juan, the Panthers call. They're getting me a flight. I'm about to leave. And he's like, Lou man, no, don't go. I'm gonna call Ray, and I'm gonna call Jeff and see if we can get you back on the roster. Because it's the end of the season. And
Right.
you could put someone on IR if you want to keep a guy. We weren't going anywhere. Bro, and I didn't want to stay there, right? As much as I love Philly, I didn't want to stay there, but I needed to go to my locker because I think I had my watch there and my Game Boy. That's one thing I did. I would play my Game Boy
Yes.
before games.
Yeah,
I would
man.
I would
Yeah.
play Tetris before games.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God, that's
So
awesome.
so you guys know how the vet is, right?
Right.
So you get to the vet and you walk in, and the coach's office are right here, and then our locker room is right there. You got to pass the coach's office to get to the locker room. So you got to pass them to get to the car. I didn't want to see Juan because I didn't want to stay.
Right.
And guess why I didn't want to stay? I freaking hated John Gruden because I felt like he hated me.
Mm.
Bro, so I go into the stadium, I get in the locker room, I tell a couple guys by, I get my watch, my Game Boy, and like some tennis shoes I had in there. And instead of taking the 20 yards to go from the locker room past the coach's office to hop in the car, you know what I did?
You go out the front door.
No, I ran all the way around the stadium just
my
to
God.
get, dude. So
get
by the time
out.
I get out, I'm drenched in sweat. I get home. I got an answer machine. You know, guys, we don't have no cell phone. I had an
Yeah.
answer machine, and Juan has left me numerous messages, and I was like, Juan, I've got an opportunity to be on a roster.
Yep.
And I'm leaving. Like, and plus, it wasn't guaranteed that they were going to have a spot. But the crazy thing about it is, like, 5 weeks later, Gruden got the Raiders job.
Oh,
Which also sucked for me because I couldn't secretly root for the Raiders anymore. 'Cause
yeah.
couldn't stand.
Because
He
you're
treated
personal.
me so bad.
Personal.
So
Yeah.
Spider 2Y banana wasn't for you then. That's just
We didn't have Spider 2Y banana. We called it something else.
no kid.
Actually, no. We did we have Spider 2Y banana? We did. We called it Y corner, I think.
Yeah, that sounds
yeah.
about right. I've heard some different variations of that play call.
Yeah.
So did you like in training camp and practices? Did you go up against Brian Dawkins?
Oh
did you,
yeah,
did
I
you
played against Brian in college.
Okay, because yeah,
You know,
was he
we went to-
Clemson, right?
He was Clemson, and we were Clemson was one of our money games. You know, we're a small school. We play a big school and get a check, and we played them. And heck, well, that was my senior year. Dawkins was already in Philly. We only lost by one score, but we played them his junior year maybe, and we knew he was special. Well, I grew up a Clemson fan, so I was already paying attention to Clemson. We knew he was special from the jump, and but we didn't know he was that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when I got to Philly, I was like, oh yeah, this guy is stupid. He runs like he runs like a corner and hits like a linebacker, and he ain't even that big.
Right.
Dawkins was what, 205
Yeah.
or whatever, and he hit like he was 250. Oh man! And then he would babysit your kids after the game. He was the nicest guy in the world. He is the nicest guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's the
Very
nicest guy.
docile.
He's not. It's not fake. It's not one of those. He's fake. He's the nicest guy, right?
Yes, he is.
But when he goes on that field, he turns into Weapon X.
But he's a maniac on the field. Like, dude, him pregame and hold on a second.
Dude, the hit on Algie Crumpler.
I know. I was thinking
Oh my
of that.
god.
Oh, dude.
And you're a tight end, so you know that like a play like that where Vic kind of laid Algie Crumpler out like that too.
Yeah.
Listen to me, fellas. I'm a tight end, and I love me some tight ends, and I watch my guys. I might not even know them. I root for them. I'm an Eagle fan through and through. I felt bad for Algie, bro.
Yo.
I felt he's even a Falcon. I hated Falcon as a Panther, former Panther.
As a Panther.
And I felt horrible for Algie, bro. I was thinking he broke something.
The way he got
He looked like he broke him in half.
Then it was
man.
cold, fellas. It was cold.
Yeah.
It's a winter playoff game in Philly.
Yeah,
It's cold.
you just had 18 inches of snow dumped on the city 2 days before that.
I was there. I was in town.
Yep.
I was still living there. Remember Stanley Pritchard? He played
Yeah.
fullback for us. Stanley had signed with the Falcons. And I met Stanley over there. That's the first time I saw Vic in person. And I was like, yo, Vic is like 5'11". Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
he's not
realize
big
he was
either.
that little.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I ain't going to this game. It's freezing out. Like, and,
That was the NFC
bro.
Championship game, right?
Correct. Yep, that's when they won. They finally got over the hump and went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
That was
Yep.
that was the coldest game I've ever been at in my entire life.
No, it was
At
Closest game
halftime-
for me.
At halftime, I didn't even need to use the bathroom, but it was the only place in the stadium with heat.
That was warm.
Yes. So you went in and you just stood in there and wore like, dude, it was the coldest game I've ever been to in my life.
Fellas,
Me and
I'm
my
gonna tell you,
father, section 239. Yeah, it was all. Oh man, it's the coldest I've ever been in my life.
That's dope, man. You and Dad.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
yeah, man.
Yeah, my son doesn't know it. He's 11 and he's got 2 Super Bowls. He doesn't know.
Oh.
He doesn't know how.
These kids know nothing of this.
Yes.
But I'm gonna
The
tell you what my
struggle.
son is. My son is a crazy diehard in the middle of Carolina blue. Dude, he rocks Eagles gear
I love
every. And one day it's Eagles, one day it's Clemson. One day it's Eagles, one day it's Clemson.
Hey,
And,
there's nothing wrong with that. I like the
his-
Clemson Tigers.
One of his best friends is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and he gives him just crap all the time. I'm like, I like it. I like it. At
great.
age 11,
I love it.
he got, and his buddy's like, well, we got 6 Super Bowls, and he's like, my son's like,
And how many have you been alive for to see?
my son was like, we're only 11.
Exactly.
My daughter's 11 and my son's 15, and I try to explain to them. I'm like, the Eagles have been to 3 Super Bowls in 8 seasons and won 2 of them. I was like, you're the luckiest human beings
Dude.
ever.
Yes.
Dude,
Yes.
they don't,
Yes.
and I'm happy for them.
Yes.
They don't know how
Yes.
much we suffered. And even my son, as a Clemson fan, right? So we like Tar Heel basketball, we like Clemson football and Eagles football, right?
Right.
The Tar Heels lost in the championship to Villanova on the buzzer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Clemson lost to Alabama in the title game after giving up a freaking just a terrible blown coverage on the to OJ Howard.
Long pass, yeah.
2nd and 10.
That was my bad.
And,
By accident.
That I don't mind that though. So Clemson lost, Tar Heels lost. The next year, Eagles won the Super Bowl. Clemson went back to the Natty and beat Bama, and the Tar Heels went back to the Natty and beat Gonzaga.
Yeah.
My son is like gets to enjoy this stuff. And then when LSU with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson and all those guys beat the brakes out of Clemson in the championship, he cried the entire night. And I'm like, son, I warned you. And he was like,
Yes.
oh, we can't lose. We hadn't lost in 2 years. I'm like, I warned you. It's a hurt feeling.
Uh-huh.
And I was like,
Painful.
why
It
why
is.
is there a dead cat, a dying cat in my house? And he is crying. It's like 2 a.m. He's got school the next day. And he's like, oh, Clemson, I hate LSU. I can't believe that. And I'm like,
Welcome to my world, son.
I said,
Welcome to sports, young man.
welcome to
Yep.
sports misery, kid. You got
Uh-huh.
school in the morning.
Take your butt to bed.
I said, listen, get up, go get some water. It'll be fine. We got a national championship in the past
Yeah.
few years. We'll get back, but we can't win them all. You know, you got to give them all the cliches. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
This dude is miserable right now. He's like an Eagles fan.
Yeah. Look, we get a bad
It's more
rap.
right now, but we
We-
were.
We get a bad rap, and I feel like on a daily
being loyal?
basis, for
being
what
loyal, absolutely.
some fans do, so, the majority of my producer Norm is a Washington Commanders fan, and he rides me about being an
I scored
Eagles
2
fan.
touchdowns against them.
Oh, I
In a
love it.
single game.
That's the best game of my entire life. I scored 2 touchdowns against the
The Redskins.
Well, they were the
They were the
Redskins.
Redskins at that time.
Yeah.
But
So their third own was that.
I find myself defending the Eagles fan base, Philadelphia fan base, but the Eagles, for the most part, almost on a daily basis. I feel like I'm the ambassador for my fellow Eagles fans because not all of us are scumbags, like a few, and every team's got them. You're
Every
a Raiders
team's
fan.
got,
You're a
like,
Raiders fan. You like growing up. You said the Raiders were your team. Their fans are notorious in
crazy.
Oakland.
They
Yeah.
actually be stabbing people and whatnot.
Get out of here! Get that off the screen, you.
What is that?
you got our guest drying
There's a
even
racist
over here.
flag. We're very sorry that popped up.
Oh
on the
my
screen.
God.
I got. A
We're
little
very
sick
sorry
there.
that appeared.
Yeah.
But
Didn't mean
I
any disrespect
to
towards you or anyone else might have been viewing.
to like you said, your son was able to witness these championships. My children were able to witness these championships. I'm glad that my dad still. I'm blessed to have both my parents still, and my dad got to see these. My grandfather didn't, and it's like to get the younger generation to see these. Like I can't imagine the entitlement that like these kids in Boston who are like 19, 20 years old.
Oh my gosh, they got
Right.
a lot.
Right.
Man, they got the Patriots and
The Celtics, the Bruins, the Red Sox.
Red Sox.
Right.
Like, man,
Talk about
I
the
just-
get out of here. Dude,
Talk about being spoiled.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
talk about it.
like your dad, you said your dad got the witness, dude. Yes, walk off in the ninth.
There you go.
My dad's a Giants fan. He would root for the Giants and wish I had. He was like, "I hope you have a good game."
A good
But
game, but I want
I'm
your
like-
team to lose.
I'm like, "What are you doing?" Dude, I told Landetta that, and he was dying because Landetta played for the Giants for a while, and I wasn't a Giants fan, but I'd root for the Giants because my dad liked them, right? Like when they beat the Buffalo in the Super Bowl, Norwood missed it. I was happy. I was like, I wasn't going crazy, but I was like,
I was heartbroken.
Scott Norwood, the
I
laces
was
were
heartbroken
out.
when Scott Norwood missed that field goal. I was heartbroken. Oh my
Right.
god!
that was
and at the time, obviously, I didn't know any better. I didn't know I was going to be an Eagle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wanted Buffalo to win every one of those
Yes.
Super Bowls
Dude.
because it was against an NFC East team
East team.
that I didn't want to
Dude.
see win the Super Bowl.
I started rooting for Buffalo after they lost. I was like, oh man, I gotta root for them. Like I felt bad for them. But
It's
yeah,
crazy 'cause-
my dad
crazy.
rooting again. I'm like, dude, what are you? I'm gonna get you some shitty seats. You keep this up, have
gonna
the
get
Eagles fans go crazy on you.
Right, and then your old man has to deal with all that. Well, Alan, I won't get it.
My old man is he's about that action. So I was like, he actually probably would have gotten to it with some Eagles fans.
And you're growing up being a Raiders fan. So your prime football watching years, Bo Jackson was, I assume, was.
Marcus
You-
Allen
okay.
Marcus Allen was my favorite player.
Okay.
Marcus Allen
was
was my
incredible.
favorite football player.
He was
Bo
incredible.
Jackson is one of my top non-Eagles of all time.
I love Bo Jackson. He played for the Eagles?
No, for the Raiders.
Oh,
He's one of my favorite
I was like, wait, hold
non-Eagles.
on.
Not not Eagles.
Oh, I thought you said 9. I'm like, wait, what have I missed? I'm kind of a junkie. What have I missed?
No,
Yeah,
you're
Bo
good, you're
Jackson,
good.
bro. Man, can you imagine? I just that right there kills me that we didn't get to see Bo in all of his glory, man.
We had former Philly and former Kansas City Royals Steve Jeltz on a few shows back, and he actually played baseball with Bo Jackson on the Royals. And some of the stories that he had of just like feats of strength and it was an incredible interview.
Yeah.
Fellas, like, look at how great he was at baseball, just with the freaking metal hip, limping or still limping around. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when that game against Cincinnati, where he literally, I remember watching a documentary where the doctor said he was running so hard it pulled it completely out of the socket and then slammed it back in. That's incredible. And then to retire from football, continue playing baseball at that level.
At that
Yeah.
level.
No, how about when he ran over Bosworth?
Dude,
Yeah. Killed Bosworth.
ran over Bosworth and then outran everybody else.
Outran everybody.
These are pros now. He didn't outrun a bunch of freaking high schools. These are professionals.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Dude is something else, man.
And it didn't even look like it was like it was any effort. It looked effortless to him.
Yeah.
Luther, as far as the draft, I mean, what's your take of the way Howie just knocked it out of the park?
I am very happy with the draft. I thought the only thing I wish we had done, and whatever, man, we're nitpicking at this point. I wish we had taken a receiver at some point.
Right.
There are a few guys like at fourth round, fifth area. I was like, man, I hope we can trade back in and grab this guy or that guy. But listen, I don't scout. I don't get paid millions to do that. And guys who I liked, they probably stunk if once you watch like a few weeks of film.
Mm-hmm.
We always like a guy, and we really don't. We don't know. We don't look at enough film. We don't know that he can't get off press coverage. We don't know that he's a drug addict, and his position coach has already told the Eagles don't take him because he can't stay out of the bottle. Like, that's not funny, but it happens.
Right.
So, but man,
what do you think?
We took a linebacker for the first time in 35 years? In the
First time since 1979.
And the crazy thing is, Howie was trying to trade up multiple times for him.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to give up anything to get him.
Nope, and he kept falling. Well, he jumped one spot and gave up one pick in the.
Gave up one pick.
Kansas City,
Yeah, I wonder why. I really want to ask Howie why he did that. Maybe he thought somebody was going to jump above him. But I do. I want to ask, like, remember when Chicago traded up one spot and gave up a ton of assets to the Niners to take Mitchell Trubisky?
Yeah.
When they could have just sat there and either taken, I know this is hindsight, they could have taken Mahomes or Deshaun Watson.
Crazy.
But they traded up to take a guy who played in the same conference as Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson and couldn't hold a candle to them. Now, living in ACC country, all of us were confused as to why everyone was saying Mitchell Trubisky was a first-round pick. We also were confused as to why everyone was so high on Daniel Jones.
Right.
We were super confused. Living out here, watching ACC ball all the time, we were like, look, I'm not hating on the guy, but why is he considered a top 10 pick? Like, and it shows. Like, listen, we're wrong a lot, but I'm like, I don't know what you're looking at here. I don't know what you saw, but hey, at least it's not.
We know how Daniel Jones turned out.
We did take Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. Now
let's not talk about that.
but the guy I wanted wasn't even Justin Jefferson, so I would have still been wrong, but we would have been in a way better spot if we had taken T. Higgins. I wanted T. Higgins.
Right.
And all my Eagles friends were like, dude, you only want T. Higgins because you're a Clemson fan. And I'm like, no, T. Higgins is a baller. And he is. Like, he's not just Justin Jefferson is something special, but look how many teams. I mean, he did drop to 22 when other teams needed wide receivers, so that goes to show you that.
A couple more before we let you get out of here, Luther. And again, thank you for jumping on with us. What are your thoughts on Shedeur Sanders dropping that far?
My thoughts on Shedeur Sanders dropping is twofold. One, I think he caused it on himself because they thought they were more talented than he actually is. Like, most of the scouts or most of the people I talked to in the league thought he was a late second, third round type guy. Right. And Dion had Stephen A. Smith and everybody saying he's a top 3 pick, right?
Mhm.
So they thought they had leverage to say, I'm not going any lower than 5.
Right.
I don't want to talk to anyone else. And apparently he completely tanked or completely eschewed anyone under like 7.
Oh,
So what
that's
happens
just a
when
bad
those
look in
teams?
the league right there.
But what happens when those teams come back around in the second round?
Yeah,
They hadn't done any of the work on you because you were like, I ain't gonna be there, so why am I talking to you? Basically, that's what Dion did to the Giants.
Yep.
The Giants wanted to talk to him, and he said, "When do you guys pick?" And they said 7, and he said, "I don't need to waste my time with you. I'll be gone by 7." But legitimately, because he was
Yeah.
Deion Sanders.
He was that dude.
He was
dude.
that good. Yes, he was that good.
Well,
Dual athlete, 2 sports.
Shador isn't, and he played that all wrong. However, should he have gone all the way past the 3rd round?
I don't think so.
I don't know. And another thing that is doubly bad is Cleveland ended up taking him, but they also took Dylan Gabriel. Let's not even talk about Shador.
Isn't Kenny
Why did-
Pickett also on there?
Why?
On their
Why
roster?
did they did trade for him?
Their
But why did
quarterback
they
room is like
take,
seven quarterbacks deep.
Not really. Deshaun Watson's not going to be there.
Okay,
And then they got
Joe Flacco.
who's 100 years old.
exactly. Yeah.
Kenny
Yeah.
Pickett and 2 rookies. So
Yeah.
that's just 4 guys.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing with them is, why did you take Dylan Gabriel? He's not that good.
Right.
And you took him
could've got
ahead of
Like that's their insurance policy, I guess.
But why? You need a quarterback, and that's the guy you take. That's and I don't know, man. I just don't think he's that good.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think he's got a
They took
water
him
arm.
ahead of Shador as well, didn't they?
They took him
Yeah.
ahead of multiple picks. They took
Yeah.
him like what, 3rd round?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, 3rd round.
I don't know.
Crazy. Well, look, that's going to do it for us, Luther. Thank you so much for jumping on with us, man. It's been
a blast.
First timer on the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show, and we'd love to have you back. When we get closer to the season kicking off and whatever, we'll reach back out to you, see if we can get you to jump back on with us.
Absolutely, go
Maybe we can
Birds.
get you on for Dallas.
Go Birds! I love that. Go Birds! So
Birds,
for
baby.
Alan Antikavich, for Mike Fuji, for our special guest Luther Broughton, I'm Tom Kelly. This is the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show, and we're out of here.